This may be Apple's first real cinema computer, not a normal Apple TV, not a cheap streaming box, not something you buy just to open Netflix faster. I mean 8K output 240s motion 2TB storage, Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos, AirPods spatial audio, AI upscaling, and Apple's full ecosystem in one box. That sounds exciting. But it also sounds expensive. Because if Apple prices this around $12.99, the question becomes serious. Is this the future of home cinema, or is Apple building a box that most homes are not ready for? That is the real story. Because Apple TV today is already good at streaming. The current Apple TV 4K already gives you 4K video, HDMI 2.1, Wi-Fi 6, a 15 Bionic power, and up to 128 GB storage. So if Apple wants to charge Cinema Machine money, it cannot just make the menu faster. It has to change what the box is. A streamer plays content. A cinema computer controls the whole experience. The sound, the motion, the games, the calls, the smart home, the AirPods, the iPhone, the Apple TV Plus content, the local media, the AI upscaling. That is what this Vision Pro 8K idea is really about. Now start with the biggest number. 8K. 8K means 7680 by 4320 resolution. That is about 33.2 million pixels. For comparison, 4K is about 8.3 million pixels. So 8K is almost 4 times the pixel detail of 4K. 4 times. That number sounds huge because it is huge. On a giant TV or a premium projector, that can make fine details look sharper. City lights, texture, sports fields, nature documentaries, wide movie shots. The idea is simple. If your screen is massive, more pixels can keep the image from looking soft. That is the cinema argument. But here is the honest part. Most people do not need 8K today. Most homes still run 4K TVs. A lot of streaming content is still 4K or lower. And even with an 8K TV, real 8K content is still limited. So 8K is not automatically useful. It depends on your screen, your content, your internet, your HDMI setup, and your expectations. That is why this device would be future-focused. Not a box for everyone today. A box for the living room Apple thinks is coming next. Now the second big number is 240 Hz. A standard 60A screen refreshes 60 times per second. 240A refreshes 240 times per second. That is 4 times the refresh rate of 60As. For normal movies, that is not the main selling point. Movies do not need 240As, but for sports, gaming, and fast UI movement, high refresh can make motion feel cleaner. Fast camera movement looks smoother. Menus feel more responsive. Games can feel sharper and quicker. The delay between input and movement can feel lower. That matters if Apple wants this box to be more than a movie player. A 4K 240 gaming mode would tell buyers one thing. Apple is not treating this like a normal streaming box. Apple is treating it like a living room performance machine. But again, there is a catch. Most living room TVs are not built for 4K 240. Many gaming TVs support 4K 120. Some newer premium displays may push higher. But 4K 240 in the living room is still not normal. So this feature sounds amazing, but it may be locked behind expensive display hardware. That is where the overkill fear begins. Now add 2TB storage. That is a massive jump for an Apple TV-style device. Current Apple TV 4K gives 64 GB or 128 GB. A 2TB Vision Pro 8K model would be 16 times the storage of 128 GB. 16 times. That changes the use case. You are no longer just installing streaming apps. You could store local 8K media, large Apple Arcade Pro games, offline downloads, high bitrate movie files, family video libraries, cache for premium content. And this matters because future media is heavy. 8K video needs serious space. High-quality game assets need serious space. Offline cinema files need serious space. A normal streamer survives with small storage. A cinema computer needs room. That is why 2TB makes sense for this concept. Not for everyone, but for the buyer who wants one premium Apple box under the main screen. Now, AI upscaling could be one of the most useful features, because 8K hardware without 8K content is a problem. If most content is still 4K 1080p or lower, then Apple needs a way to make older content look better on a sharper screen. That is where AI upscaling comes in. It could take lower resolution video and rebuild detail more intelligently. Not just stretch the picture, not just sharpen edges, but analyze the image and make it look cleaner on a big display. NVIDIA Shield became famous partly because of AI upscaling. That device showed people that smart image processing can make old content feel better. But Shield hardware is aging now, so Apple has an opening. If Apple brings its own AI upscaling with Apple Silicon Power, it could make 1080p and 4K content look cleaner on future 8K screens. That would be useful immediately. Because even if native 8K content is limited, Upscaling can help the content people already watch. But Apple has to get it right. Bad upscaling looks fake, too sharp, too smooth, too processed. Good upscaling disappears. It just makes the picture look better. That is the goal. Now, Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos are the cinema side. Dolby Vision helps with HDR picture quality, brighter highlights, deeper contrast, better color control. Dolby Atmos gives more immersive sound. Audio can feel like it is around you, not just coming from the front. And when Apple adds AirPods spatial audio, the story gets more personal. Late at night, you could watch a movie with a big screen feel without waking the whole house. AirPods Pro or AirPods Max could give you private spatial sound. That is a real-life feature. People live in apartments. People have kids sleeping. People watch after midnight. People share rooms. A premium Apple Cinema box should not only sound better through a soundbar, it should also sound better when the room has to stay quiet. That is where AirPods become powerful. Now, Apple TV Plus also matters. Apple has been building premium shows, movies, sports, and original content. A future cinema box gives Apple a way to show that content at its best. Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos, high bitrate, better motion, better recommendations, better integration with Apple devices. That is the Apple strategy. Not just sell the box. Sell the whole experience around the box. Now, FaceTime cinema calls could be another angle. Apple already connects cameras, screens, and calls across devices. But a future Apple TV Vision Pro 8K could make living room calls feel bigger and cleaner. Family calls on the big screen, share play movies, spatial audio voices, better framing through iPhone camera support. A home theater call mode. That may sound small, but for families it matters. A normal streaming box plays content. A cinema computer can bring people into the room. That is a different use case. Now, gaming is the other big reason this device could exist. Apple Arcade is already there, but this model would need something stronger. Apple Arcade Pro-style games, local downloads, controller-first titles, high frame rate, better graphics, cloud saves through iCloud, crossplay between iPhone, iPad, Mac, and Apple TV. That is where Apple can build its own gaming story. Not exactly like PlayStation, not exactly like Xbox. Apple's angle would be continuity. Start a game on iPad, continue on the TV, use a controller, save through iCloud, listen through AirPods, switch back later. That is the ecosystem advantage. But Apple still has one big weakness. Games. A powerful box does not matter if the game library does not match. PS5 is gaming first. Xbox is gaming first. They have the studios, controllers, player base, and trust. Apple TV Vision Pro 8K would need to prove it is not just powerful on paper. It needs real games, real controller support, real low latency, real developer interest. Otherwise, the gaming mode becomes a headline feature that people rarely use. Now compare the competitors. Roku is cheap streaming, simple, easy, good enough for millions of people. Fire TV is voice first. Alexa is built into the identity. It is affordable and familiar, even if the interface can feel crowded. NVIDIA Shield is the old premium media box. Strong history, loved by home theater people, AI upscaling, but old hardware. PS5 is gaming first. A real console with real games. Apple's angle has to be different. Cinema plus gaming. Spatial audio plus AI. Apple TV plus iCloud. FaceTime plus smart home. AirPods plus Dolby Atmos. That is the combination. Apple cannot win by copying Roku. It cannot win by copying Fire TV. It cannot win by pretending to be a PS5. It has to make the living room feel like part of the Apple ecosystem. Now here is the Minute 4 open loop. Apple's future cinema box may need one thing most homes still do not have. A display setup that can actually use it. That is the problem. 8K sounds amazing. 4K 240 sounds amazing. HDMI 2.2 sounds amazing. Wi-Fi 7 sounds amazing. But your room has to support the chain. The TV has to support the resolution and refresh rate. The HDMI port has to support the bandwidth. The cable has to be right. The soundbar or receiver cannot break the signal. The content has to exist. The game has to support it. One weak link can pull the whole experience down. That is why this product could be both impressive and risky. HDMI 2.2 raises bandwidth up to 96 Gbps. That is a big jump for future high-resolution, high-refresh displays. But HDMI 2.2 support is not in every home. So if Apple builds this future box too early, many buyers may pay for features they cannot use yet. That is the big value question. Are you buying for today? Or are you buying for the next 5 years? That is where people will split. If you have a normal 4K 60 TV, this box is too much. If you mostly watch YouTube, Netflix, and sports, this box is too much. If you do not care about local media, gaming, spatial audio, or smart home control, this box is too much. But if you are building a premium room big OLED or projector Dolby Atmos speakers AirPods for private viewing fast Wi-Fi, Apple devices everywhere, and you want one box to run cinema, games, calls, and AI, then this starts to make sense. Expensive? Crazy for most people? Also yes. but not pointless. That is the difference. Now let's talk about the $12.99 price. That price is dangerous, because at $12.99, nobody is forgiving missing features. No one wants to hear excuses. The box has to feel premium every second. Fast setup, silent cooling, perfect audio sync, stable 8K output, low latency gaming, strong Wi-Fi, clean UI, smart AI, smooth AirPods switching, reliable FaceTime, useful home theater mode. At this price, 1 week area becomes a big complaint, because people will compare it with everything. A PS5 costs much less, an Xbox costs much less, a Roku costs much less, a Fire TV costs much less, a normal Apple TV costs much less. So Apple has to answer one question clearly. Why does this exist? The answer cannot be only 8K. 8K alone is not enough. The answer cannot be only gaming. A console is safer for pure gaming. The answer cannot be only streaming. A cheap box already streams. The answer has to be the full package. A future cinema computer, that is the only way $12.99 makes sense. Now, Vision-style home theater mode could be the feature that makes it feel different. Not just a normal TV OS home screen. A mode designed for premium watching, big clean artwork, instant Dolby Vision check, audio format check, AirPods spatial mode, room lighting scene, smart recommendations based on display quality, AI upscaling toggle, game performance mode, FaceTime cinema layout. That would feel like a real cinema box. The software has to prove the hardware. Because if Apple gives 8K hardware but the same old TV interface, people will not feel the upgrade. The interface must feel built for a premium room. Now, AI is important here too. Not AI for random tricks. AI for picture, search, and comfort. AI upscaling for old content. AI recommendations for what actually looks best on your setup. Smarter Siri for natural movie search. Scene-based search. Automatic sound and display suggestions. Smart home scenes that match content. That is useful. For example, show me something that looks amazing in Dolby Vision. Find a movie under 2 hours with Atmos audio. Make the room like a cinema. Play the best version available. That is how a future cinema box should work. It should not make the user study settings. It should make the room behave. That is the Apple opportunity. Now the risk is overcomplication. Roku wins because it is simple. Fire TV wins because it is cheap and voice-friendly. PS5 wins because it is clear it plays games. Apple TV Vision Pro 8K could become too many things at once. Cinema box, gaming box, AI box, FaceTime box, smart home hub, media server. That sounds powerful. But it must stay simple. If people need to understand 10 modes before watching a movie, Apple failed. The power has to stay behind the scenes. The user should feel the result, not manage the machine. That is hard. But Apple is one of the few companies that can try. Now, who is this really for? Not the casual bedroom TV. Not the person buying a $39 streamer. Not the person who only watches YouTube. This is for the main room, the expensive room. The room with the best screen, the best audio, the family setup, the Apple ecosystem, the games, the movie nights. It is for people who want one clean Apple box instead of a console, mini PC, media player, and smart home hub all fighting for space. That is the promise. One box, premium cinema, Apple ecosystem, future display support. Now, will that be worth $12.99? For most people, no. And that is okay. Not every product has to be for everyone. But for Apple, the danger is messaging. If Apple makes this sound like the Apple TV everyone needs, it will look ridiculous. But if Apple positions it as a future cinema computer for high-end living rooms, the story becomes clearer. That is the difference. Now, the final buying logic is simple. If you have a 4K 60 TV, wait. If you do not care about gaming, wait. If you mostly stream normal apps, wait. If your internet is average and your TV is basic, wait. But if you are building a future Eddie room, 8K display high refresh gaming screen Dolby, Atmos, set of AirPods, spatial audio Apple services, fast Wi-Fi, and you want one Apple box to control it all, then this could be the first Apple TV that actually feels like a machine, not just an accessory. That is why this concept is interesting, because Apple TV has always been good, but it has not always felt necessary. A future cinema box could change that, not by being cheaper, not by being smaller, not by copying Fire TV or Roku, by becoming the most complete Apple device in the living room. Cinema, gaming, audio, AI, FaceTime, smart home, local media, all in one box. But the living room has to be ready. That is the key. Because if the screen cannot show 8K, if the TV cannot support high refresh, if the HDMI chain is not ready, if the games are not there, if the AI upscaling is weak, then this becomes overkill fast. But if Apple gets the hardware, software, content, and ecosystem right, Apple TV Vision Pro 8K could become Apple's first real future cinema box. Not just something that plays movies, something that understands the room, improves the picture, controls the sound, connects your devices, and makes the main screen feel smarter. That is the upgrade, and that is why this may be Apple's most ambitious Apple TV idea yet. Because the future of TV may not be another cheap stick. It may be one powerful box that turns the living room into a cinema, a game room, a call room, and a smart home center at the same time. The only question is, will your home be ready when Apple gets there?